This is it, the grand final of FishOMania IX. Since it all started back in 1994, there have been more than 15,000 anglers trying to achieve this position, a place in the final. 144 have succeeded, and of the 16 that arrive at Hayfield Lakes today, just one can make history. Steve Jackson, last year's winner, could become the first man to be twice crowned the King of Fishing, FishOMania champion. Phil Ringer was last year's runners-up, and John Howard was a finalist, finishing 5th in FishOMania I at Mallory Park. For the other lucky 13, it's their first attempt, their first chance to win 25 grand at the sport they love. So let's take a look at the draw. The contest this year has been switched to Adams Lake. Some experts favour corner pegs, others say the middle positions are best. Steve Jackson likes the look of his peg 5, and British matchweight record holder Jez O'Neill on 8 has a very confident air about him. Next to Jez in 9, last year's runner-up Phil Ringer, the only member of the prolific Ringer family not to win FishOMania. Pegs 13 to 16 in front of the Hayfield pub of good current form. Could it be John Howard's turn? Joining me throughout the afternoon are Rob Palmer and Tommy Pickering. Here's John McDonald.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to Hayfields Lake, Doncaster. Matchroom Sport proudly present FishOMania IX, live and exclusive here on Sky Sports. 1,600 came, only 16 remain. In the world of angling, it's all in!
And away they go, hardly any ripple on the water. Keith, the nerves are going to be jangling there, aren't they?
This is a critical time. It's when you make your bed. You're going to put your ground bait in, prepare your peg ready for action. There won't be many people fishing instantly. They'll be putting bait in for 4 or 5 minutes, just getting ready to see Jackson.
Wearing number 5, he's the big centre half, Steve Jackson, isn't he?
The big stopper, yeah. He's just shipping out his pole there with a cup full of bait on the end, and he'll be looking to deposit that probably quite close to the reeds in the corner.
He's the reigning champion. Nobody has ever won this twice.
There he is, feeding out his pellets. Very keen pellet angler, makes his own bait, makes his own pellets, and he'll just be feeding those, trying to get the fish interested up in the water.
Well, they're all pretty evenly spaced around the lake. 1 to 16, you can see 16 bottom of the lake, one opposite him. I wonder if they're making faces at each other across that beautiful shimmering surface. Keith, explain how important the pegs are and the positioning on there. You liken it a little bit to golf, don't you?
Well, yeah. The only difference between this and golf is, imagine playing golf where you don't know where the hole is, and then it's not always the best golfer that wins.
I know that kind of golf.
Yeah. Now, Lee Addy, I said, has got this big area here going into the corner. Terry Bintliff is finding it difficult to get in here because he's got reeds, so Lee's going to have that to himself. There's Jacko's corner up there. He's on peg 5, so he'll be casting to there. But this is the area. All the local experts seem to think that the fish would run to the middle of the lake, and these are the people that can fish the middle of the lake easiest. And I think that's where there'll be a lot of fish caught later in the match.
So you're kind of getting into fish psychology here. Previously, they used to go to the island, but now it's a case of casting to the centre.
Nowhere to run.
So, a beautiful day for fishing, perfect conditions, and the champion, Steve Jackson, has already caught that first fish of the day. Steve Jackson's out there on peg 5, looking good.
He is. That's a roach, I would guess. There's hide in here that look a lot like roach.
You're not here to guess, you should be telling me. I want to know the name of the roach.
He's a long way away.
Postcode.
That's a roach, and that'll be a start. Now, Jacko will know that if he gets those silverfish feeding, the bigger fish will soon come in to nudge him out the way and start scoffing as well. He'll be happy with that.
Psychologically, that's very important for him. I mean, he's a veteran of this competition, isn't he?
Yes.
As well as the reigning champion, of course.
It looks like he's feeding some casters and chopped worm there. He'll be feeding those up to the rushes and just hoping to accumulate a bag of fish.
As I said, this is the tactics we were talking about earlier on. You either go for, you know, a few almighty carp, or you can go for a big bagful, can't you?
Most anglers seem to be on the floating pole, feeding floating and slowly sinking pellets and trying to catch carp up there. And from my vantage point, I can see fish mouthing at those pellets already, and it won't be long before they start eating in big style. There's a man with a fish, look. It's Phil Ringer. Phil Ringer,
Ringo
peg
from
9.
the fishing family Ringer.
Proper fish as well. That was a carp. And he's feeding pellets and he's fishing. I think he's fishing with a rod, although he's got a pole laid up behind him. I think he's fishing the waggler.
There has been light applause out there. There's been a prolific catch so far from various anglers. John Howard, who's a local angler, 57 years of age, has got a bit of support here, and he's got his first fish as well.
That's a good fish as well. That's 4 or 5 pounds.
John's biggest ever fish was a 20-pound carp, his biggest ever match bag, 158 pounds. So I think it'll be close to that today. Well, that's an excellent start, isn't it?
It's a great start. Got a competition already.
Dear me, they're leaping out of the water today, aren't they?
Well, we saw those fish in Roger Marlowe's peg, and I'm sure that's Roger Marlowe with a fish.
It is. Roger on peg 16 celebrated his 54th birthday last week. He's the guy that uses cat meat, we're told. Well,
he had some cat meat opened up, ready to start fishing with. I saw it in his box earlier on. I had a little sneak.
Roger there, who won the Barrow on Saw competition. Great start, and a rapturous applause from the anglers here at Lakeside, at Adams Lake. Change of lake this year, and it's been a lucky change of lake.
It is as well, but you can just see there that Roger's not quite so experienced at catching carp, because the other 2 anglers have had him much quicker. And you've got to really have a dip at carp if you want to get them in quick, which you'll need to do. There'll be a lot of fish caught today. You've got to get them under the end of the pole and gauge where they are by looking at your line and just having a dip at them. You might miss first time, but you might get them second time. You can save 3 or 4 minutes, but that's a fine fish.
He's playing to the crowd out there as well, is Roger Marlowe. Let's have a little look at his fish. What do you reckon that weighs, Keith?
That's not quite as big as Johnny Howard's. That's probably 1.5 kilos, I would guess.
Great start there for Roger Marlowe.
The great thing here, though, on this lake, I think, because there are spectators all around the lake rather than just on the one bank, the fish really have got nowhere to go, and they'll get used to it very quickly. I've been watching, there's some coaches coaching juniors on the other lake, the other part of Adams Lake, and there's been big crowds there. Anglers can't help watching fishing, and they've been big crowds there from the beginning, and they've been catching plenty of fish.
We're going to have the weigh-ins every half an hour.
There we go.
There's the first hooter, which will settle the nerves of some of the fishermen out there. Roger Marlowe has made a fantastic start. Also on peg 5, Steve Wacko Jacko and Ringo. This is first Roger Marlowe, who got off to a great start, a flying start.
Got another fish there now. A lot of fish in that corner. This new wind has started blowing into this corner, and that's just where the fish wanted to be. They followed the wind all the time. We wanted the wind ideally to be blowing in the opposite direction, how it has been for a couple of weeks.
Well, he'll be desperate to find out exactly what the weight of his culmination of fish is going to be. He's got some big carp out there.
Quality fish, yeah.
Very careful to make sure.
Lovely bloke, Roger, as well.
Yeah?
Yeah, smashing bloke.
You catch a lot of fish in practice here, as you know, fishing a waggler. And I think, I mean, obviously, in this corner, like you said, with wind, there's a lot of fish there. I think I'll take some beating personally today.
There is Roger Marlowe. Let's find out how he's doing. We can get down there to the weigh-in, and I think Gary Norman's down there.
Thanks, Rob. Well, Keith was right. The area to the left of where Roger's fishing is absolutely... When fishermen talk about the water fizzing, it's absolutely alive with fish, and he's made a tremendous start. His keemlet's about to come out. It's had 3 quite decent fish. As I said when I sort of did the piece at the top of the show, it really is youth versus experience, and experience is leading the way. Roger Marlowe and John Howard both starting brilliantly, and here comes the first weigh-in. Some decent fish in there. It's a great start to a match. You couldn't wish for a better start. Here's a beautiful looking fish. Look at this. And I'll tell you what, they fight pretty well as well. Beautiful. There's one more in there. Here we go. So 2 carp and an orth, by my reckoning. Keith might say otherwise. And here we go. Let's turn the scales round.
On the ground.
Just lift it off the ground. Hold on 2 seconds. Here we go. would you make that, Stuart?
Settle down, boys. 4 kilos, 850 grams.
4 kilos, 850 grams. It's a great start for Roger Marlowe in peg 16.
50.
Well, with Steve Jackson down here on peg 5, he's got one on here, just playing it nice and gently. Trying to take refuge in the reeds here. Just playing it around nice and gently. Steve has a reputation. That's a nice size fish there. Looks like a nice roach. Oh, look, looks like a nice carp out there. Almost with us.
I am honest.
That's Lizzie's 3 or 4 guesses she's had it.
She knows her fish,
Definitely
though.
a
I tell you
carp.
what, I'm very impressed.
Definitely a carp.
Very, very impressed. It is a carp, smiling for the camera as well. This is peg 14. Nathan Watson, the youngest competitor. He's not 23 until
Oh,
August.
that's a big fish.
Wow.
Now, you see how quickly he netted that fish.
Yeah.
That's the difference between someone who's really experienced at catching carp, like Nathan is. He's a regular visitor here. And Roger Marlowe took much longer to land a fish that wasn't as big. Now, that fish is, I would guess, over 3 kilos.
Certainly 2.5
Yeah.
kilos. He's a good angler, you know, he's a good kid.
Yeah.
Well, put it this way, I've had a bet on him, so
Blimey.
he's my tip. Even I got some money out on him.
And there's my peg that I predicted first of all, Phil
Yeah.
Ringer, and that's a big fish
That's
as
a
well.
big fish. I think he's just had a couple anti now, so.
And it's just that slow start, now it's starting.
Yeah.
They've just got used to the feed, the
That's
fish are
right.
now getting used to the crowds, and they're starting to have an eat. So the result of the first of 10 weigh-ins that will decide the winner of this year's trophy. And the top 3 are in a line on the pub bank. Is this the shape of things to come? Welcome back to the grand final of FishOMania IX, and here's Nathan Watson in top place on the first leaderboard. Nathan's a regular at Hayfield and has a pretty consistent record at open matches on the venue. And that's a very handy carp joining those in his net.
And that hootie here in the background signals the second weigh-in.
There's Peter Cocking. Saw him catch a fish earlier. That's another good fish. He's directly opposite Roger Marlowe, peg 1.
Meanwhile, a little more activity. The experts up here are craning their necks. Who's that, Keith?
Big fish. That's Phil Ringer again.
Phil again, yeah.
It's a big fish too. Look at those tail patterns on the surface.
Playing that a long time, that.
Quality fish. And he doesn't mess about with fish,
No.
Phil Ringer. He's extremely positive.
So the big fish are foul hooked, isn't it?
Well, don't forget there's 2.5 grand for the best fish of the day, and this could well be it, the way he's playing it.
He could be taking home what, £27,500 the way his look is going at the moment.
I don't know how you managed without the fingers. Top adding up, that was. Top totting, that was.
It's a good fish, that, isn't it?
That's a big fish. That really is a quality fish.
That's Phil Ringer on peg 9.
It's time now.
Most of the activity has been in the teens, really, hasn't it, when it comes to the peg numbers?
Do you know, these ghost carp, you think they're the same as all the other carp, but they are like ordinary carp.
I know the difference here. I can explain it to you if you want.
I'll tell you, they pull harder than anything. They are complete nutcases.
It's proper one,
That's 7 or 8 pounds. That's,
No,
that's,
definitely
that's
8 pound, that,
getting
yeah.
on for 4 kilo, that fish.
Why do they fight differently? Have you got a...
Got a clue.
It's incredible, isn't
Nope.
it? It's incredible, the fight.
He's desperate to get the fish in the bag and to get out
The
there again.
important thing is he's got to keep feeding. You see, he's got those fish feeding close to the surface. They're milling around looking for feed. They're hungry. If that feed isn't there, they'll swim off and find somebody else's. And this is where tactics play a part. The guys either side of him, if they're aware of that, while he's playing that fish, they'll really not feed loads, but feed all the time. So there's always bait plopping in, just hoping those fish will wander away. And you'll sometimes see anglers holding their pole, playing fish and feeding at the same time.
The ambidextrous Ringo Ringer, who's actually in the fishing bait business, so he's not going to be short of...
He won't be running out of pellets,
No.
that's for sure.
What will he be throwing in there at the moment?
the steward if he carries on
Is he
acting
allowed
like
to do
that.
that? That's the prop he's
Well, that's
using.
the steward.
That's cheating, isn't it?
That's the steward taking his net out. I mean, you know, these blokes are fishing for a lot of money. You don't really want them in the way like that.
He's not the
think I'd be
slimmest
right
steward in the world
happy
either,
about
is he?
No.
I want to be right happy about that.
But I suppose you do need a big steward to go weigh those fish. And that steward will find out his name in a moment because he's with the Sylph-like in comparison Brindlaw.
Thanks very much, Rob, you cheeky monkey. Let's have a look at this. A couple of fish in here. That's the smaller one first. And this is the fish that you have just watched brought in. That's a good size, and the prediction is the bigger one is this fella here. How about that? That's the fish that at the moment could set the standard as far as catch of the day is concerned. Let's see the overall weight.
Early stage 10 grams. 70. 6 kilos, 770.
6 kilos, 770 is the overall weight, but they will be checking for big fish catch now because of that final fish that Phil Ringer landed before the that weigh-in that you've just seen. So let's just see what the weight now of the potential catch of the day thus far is. Here we go.
6 kilos, 770.
6 kilos, 770, you'll hear confirmed as the overall weight.
3 kilos.
3 kilos.
240.
3 kilos, 240. That is the biggest catch thus far. 3 kilos, 240. Phil Ringer on peg 9.
There's Nathan Watson. He's the first round leader.
And here's confirmation. The second round leaderboard shows a bit of a gap opening up. That big fish has helped Phil Ringer leapfrog John Howard into third place, with Roger Marlowe still in second. Steve Jackson's holding on.
There's the man who's in prime position. Nathan Watson can hardly hide the smile on his face. As once the intermediate national champion, he's on course to become the FishOMania champion. It's great sitting here because behind us there's chant after chant, cheer after cheer. That's Stuart Wilton on peg 4, the River Tees winner, who Keith, I think, has got a decent-sized fish there.
Yeah, that was a big 10. He's doing his chop worm approach down on the inside margin. He's got a camera platform built next to him, and he's fishing. He's really taking advantage of that. He's fishing close to those reeds, under the cover of the camera platform. And he was blanking after the first weigh-in, and now he's going to be on the first half of the leaderboard. I'll be bound.
What do they say in athletics? It's a marathon, not a sprint, and that probably applies to fishing as well. You heard the hooter behind us. That signals that we are at stage 3 when it comes to the weigh-in. Weigh-in number 3, reminded that the leader at the moment, with just over 12 kilograms, is Nathan Watson.
There's where
that's kind of the winning area so
14,
far, isn't
15,
it?
16. There's a lot of fish in that area. You can see the wind. It's getting a bit stronger. There's a bit more ripple there. Those fish will follow the wind. But the other thing is the wind will spread further across the lake. The more ripple there is, the more wind there is, the further the ripple spreads. The more ripple, the more fish.
I was going to ask you about the weather. I was going to ask you to be a Michael Fish then. So how many times have you heard that one?
This isn't the place for that.
Well, let's get serious now, because this is Nathan's weigh-in down there on peg number 14.
If we can get the fish to keep still a second, what do you make that, Stuart?
Kilo 660.
1 kilo 660 to add to Nathan's weight.
On peg 5 with Steve Jackson. Oh, look, that's a big one. Oh, how big do you reckon that is, Alan?
Not very.
Bless it, little ounce, looks like a little white bait. Right, let's have a look. This is Steve Jackson's weigh-in. Not so hot at the moment. He's on to 660.
Sorry, 680 grams.
And this is 680 grams, which is not really that hot, is it?
And still Nathan Watson sits on top of the board, but a bit of a shuffle beneath him, with John Howard forcing his way up to second spot. The man with top weight in that session is Stuart Wilson with nearly 7 kilos, and he's 7th. Steve Jackson slips to 9th. Jez O'Neill's losing out in his peg-to-peg battle with Phil Ringer, and local lad Ron Mangum, who's had more than 300 goes at qualifying before he eventually got to a final, is fishless.
So let's have a look at the leaders. They're very close together. We can get them all on one camera shot. Nathan Watson there on peg 14.
That looks like Johnny Howard.
Yes, yeah.
That's a big fish too.
I guess this, I think we push them close with Nathan. It's a good peg-to-peg battle, this.
John Howard knows a lot about fishing because Tommy, he did cite you as his favourite fisherman in the pre-match notes. Yep, you're his hero.
Oh, that £20 work then, isn't it? I bet. Yeah. He's actually a great character, and I mean, the history around this place and him, I mean, everybody in Doncaster, if he wins it, would be absolutely made up. It'd be a fairy tale come true, really, for him. You know, especially with Bert and his dog and everything like that that's buried here, and it's incredible, really, the story. So, I mean, everybody in Doncaster's rooting for him, really.
He is the local hero, John Howard. He says his biggest disappointment was not winning FishOMania at Mallory Park, and he's got a big family who'll be celebrating with him. He is a grandfather to 6 children. So go on, Grandad, keep it going.
all on a cut there.
Intense concentration from John Howard.
What's interesting is he's caught more since Nathan Watson has come short. Nathan stopped feeding that distant area. The fish have just moved. I said to you, they'll follow the feed.
He's up 2 since he come short, Nathan. He's actually gone back out now, Nathan. Whether that's helped John catch 2 or 3 fish, but it does. It makes a big difference.
I'm getting the bug for this fishing, listening to you two now.
Yeah, you'll be out on the bank soon, don't you worry.
The thing is, once it's come short, Nathan, what happened was you don't feed him your far line. So it's coming to rest it, but you don't feed it the same because you're concentrating on the line. You think you are, but you don't. And I think maybe you just caught a couple of fish because of that. It'd be interesting to see if Nathan catches now he's gone back out on long line. Normally, Johnny, they've had this fish in now, but every fish is crucial. What I'll be thinking now is every fish I get, now I'm probably in front with that, every fish I've got, they've got to catch 2 to beat me. So they're just taking the time, but normally John don't mess about like that with fish.
2.5 kilo, that, Tom?
Yeah, that's took him in front, I reckon, now, that, yeah.
Young Nathan Watson isn't letting it all go Howard's way. And neither, for that matter, is Phil Ringer.
This is where that session in the gymnasium came in very useful. Rip all those muscles.
He's probably fishing 15 or 16 metres of pole, and although that'll only weigh just over a kilogram, the downforce is tremendous, and it really does take a lot of effort to get it back. He's got that big roller behind to help him get it back smoothly. Then he'll take the joints off, gradually bring the fish nearer, and then the elastic you can see coming out the end of the pole there does its work. It's a shock absorber, and it actually pulls the fish into the pole for you.
You could see the shoeless Bryn Law behind him. You think you'd give him a hand, really, wouldn't you, Bryn?
Well, Steve, we're watching your brother here. That looks like it's a good-sized fish there, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's a decent carp. He's had a bit of a slow patch. He's only had a couple of small fish. We've just had a bit of a tactical change, and he's had a fish first chuck, so hopefully he'll go out and start catching again.
It's not an insurmountable lead that Nathan's got over there, is it? He can still be caught.
He definitely can still be caught. There's a long while to go, you know what I mean? If someone starts catching some bigger fish, you know, you can do a big weight in 1 hour, so we're not despondent by any means.
And there's always catch of the day as well, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. Apparently he's winning biggest fish, you know what I mean? So that'll be a small consolation.
Thanks very much, Steve.
The leaderboard tells the story, no change at the top, but John Howard has clung on to Nathan Watson. Stuart Wilson's close-in swimmers now taking him into the top 5, with another corner man, Terry Bintliff, making his way up the board. Steve Jackson looks to be on the slippery slope. Can he wave goodbye to any chance of a back-to-back win? Ron Mangum, still dry netting in 16th and last spot, is just praying for a bite.
Well, this is unfortunately the man who is kind of the Nui Isles of fishing at the moment. Poor old Ron Mangum.
Nil point.
Nil point.
But he can blame the coach. You see, he's got a coach there looking away. The coach should
His
be
coach isn't watching.
Exactly. That's my point. It's not Ron's fault at all.
How do you coach a fisherman then?
You
Are you there?
You tell him what's going on. You instill in him your knowledge. That's what you do.
Ron Mangum put in the practice. 800 times he's fished this particular corner of the country. His favourite angler is apparently Johnny Howard, who's here today. That is the info on Ron Mangum. His biggest disappointment is not playing rugby for England. I'm not sure how much of a competitor he was there.
This could
His
top
biggest
that,
disappointment could be, yes,
Ron,
not catching a single fish, a stickleback at FishOMania IX.
I know Ron pretty well, and he'll be just absolutely mad up to just got here, to be honest with you.
Really?
Well, I spoke to him after he qualified, and he was like, that was his FA Cup really, just to get here and fish in this event. He'll not be worried about not catching anything. Honestly, he won't be.
Just loves his fish. He's retired, am I right?
Loves the fishing, he loves doing that, and this day to him will be everything in fishing he's ever dreamed of. Really will be.
His biggest ever fish was an 18-pound carp. Could do with that today. Another Doncaster lad. Not a sausage. So far for Ron Mangum on peg number 10.
Still trying, though.
Well, should we stick with him till he catches something? We could be on all night, couldn't we?
He'll get one, that lad, I'll tell you.
His coach has given up. What does a fishing coach do, in all seriousness?
It's tactical.
Yeah.
He'll be able to watch what other people are doing and advise you how to change. I mean, Tommy will know more. Tommy's coached teams at international levels. Now, ladies coach. Look at that. It's Johnny Howard.
That's a good fish, that. Yeah. I mean, a coach looks at people, at anglers, and they can usually see.
Well, if this is a peg close to him.
Oh, what did
no! Oh dear. The one that got away. John Howard is actually the hero of Ron Mangum. Doesn't feel like a hero at the moment. Oh dear, dear.
There's 3 kilos there. He's got the hook in his finger as well. He's just had to pull the hook out with his teeth. Luckily, they're barbless hooks, and that's 3.5 kilos gone. Now
that is.
3 kilos behind.
There could be 25
place.
grand.
That was it, wasn't it? That was the big one.
Just to drop 25 grand. That could have been a 2.5 grand fish.
That fish, what I just lost, then would have took him in lead as well.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's not going to cost him at end. What he's got to do now is clear his head, because he'll be thinking now straight away that's going to cost me. He'll think in his head that's going to cost me match. And somebody, this is where a coach might come in handy now. Go down, sit with him, talk to him.
Now, in true Sky Sports style, we bring you the slow motion of the one that got away. That's £25,000 disappearing into the bottom of Adams Lake, possibly.
Potentially, yeah.
You put it into context when you think about it that way,
honestly, he needs his coach to go down. His own phone, his coach, he needs to be talking to him now.
Rob Hitchin.
He's changing the odds. He's not going to win it now.
Now, Rob Hitchin, he's a top angler, local angler. Yep. Like Johnny was here at the development of the lakes. At one stage, I think he won 22 consecutive competitions here.
You couldn't beat him.
No, you couldn't beat him.
You couldn't beat him.
And you couldn't wish for someone better advising you, because if there's anyone knows the moods of this lake better than Johnny Howard, it's Rob.
He won that many matches and you couldn't beat him. People stopped coming to compete against him.
No, it won't be only the fisherman who'll be affected by that, but his family as well. Gary Norman is with his son.
Thanks, Rob. David, well, my first question, how's he going to feel?
He's going to feel a bit disappointed that he didn't get it in the net, but end of the day, he'll go for it and carry on. Obviously, the time spent getting it in, playing it, losing a bit of time, valuable fishing time, but plenty of time to go yet, plenty of time.
If you didn't see that, he was basically playing that fish for about 10 minutes. We reckon it was about 3 kilograms, and he's 3 kilograms behind. Now, if he knows that, is he going to be thinking, that could have lost me the match, you know, with 3 hours to go?
No, I don't think he's thinking on that lines at all. He knows there's plenty of time to go yet. It's still anybody's match. A couple of hours left. He'll just get his head right. He'll be back in a few seconds. He'll be back in the water again.
And there's the rub. A 5 kilo gap between our leader Nathan Watson and John Howard in second. That could have been halved, but for the one that got away. Roger Marlowe's on a bit of a roll, and Jez O'Neill has climbed onto the leaderboard. Lee Addy is the man that's dropped Steve Jackson's treading water in 10th spot. Most of these lads are now hoping for a big fish to snatch the catch of the day from Phil Ringer. Ron Mangum merely wants to catch.
Wonderful day here in South Yorkshire, especially on the pegs that are very close to us. Pegs 14, 15 and 16 have proven to be the competitive pegs on Lucy's Lake here in Doncaster.
Stuart Wilson still concentrating under that adjacent camera platform, but the crowd are giving the cameraman a bit of stick. But that carp could help him further up the table.
Meanwhile, at the other end of the scale, the first fish of the afternoon for the man who was at the bottom of the table. Unfortunate Ron, but he's got a fish now. He's off the mark. He's on a roll. Ron Mangum on peg number 10. Hadn't had anything, the only competitor not to trouble the stewards on the
Good old
scales.
Nathan Watson's just netted a very big fish.
That was the biggest cheer of the afternoon there for Ron Mangum. And Nathan Watson is back catching fish. The leader at the previous weigh-ins, we'll give you the leaderboard in a moment, but it looks as though that he's registering again.
No change at the top, but Marlowe closes ranks in third. Watson's last fish came too late for the scales. Stuart Wilson's catching continues, and despite an early bath, Pete Cocking, who fell in just before the start, is up in sixth. Defending champion Steve Jackson climbs one rung to ninth, but surely it's too late, even for him. A look at the bottom. For the first time, it's not Ron Mangum supporting the rest. That job has now gone to the unfortunate Mike Withy.
There is Roger Marlowe here at FishOMania IX. Roger in third place at the last weigh-in, but he's had a good few minutes. He's been catching prolifically, increasing to his total of just over 15 kilograms. And he's on one of the hot pegs on this near sunshiny side of Adams Lake in Doncaster.
It's a proper fish, that's why it was bullied on. Look at the size of that thing.
That's it, gob all right, isn't it?
Oh dear, come and meet the crowd.
See now, that fish, that would have been netted.
Yes, it would.
By, you can guarantee Phil would now be shipping out for his next fish. Yeah. And it's not a criticism of Roger at all.
No, not
it's just he learnt his fishing like I did and like you did, and like you know, we've just had to develop new skills now with these because Roger hasn't got a fishery that he's used to like this.
See that,
he still plays them like it's a big chub or something, you know.
At the end of the net, it's in the net now.
That's it.
And I'll tell you, he's not far off Nathan now.
No,
I reckon with that.
But he's held his nerve because he lost 3 fishes a short time ago, and that's a fantastic catch for Roger Marlowe.
I think he'll be
as Keith was saying, one of our more experienced fishermen here today. He was in third place with 13.25. The fisherman who was using cat meat earlier in the day.
Now, I don't know if they're looking at this as the biggest fish. I think 3,240, isn't it, the biggest fish?
Yeah.
3,240 has got the big. I don't think so.
The ringer fish was 3,240.
Yeah, that's
2.8.
2.8. Yeah, that's a good shout.
We agreed for once.
Yeah, we do.
Oh dear, now we'll see if our experts are experts when they stick this one on.
What do you reckon it is then, Rob? You give us a shout as well. We reckon 2.8.
That will be 3.4.
Oh, shot, Keith.
You're wrong, it's 2.3.
2.3, 2.4, yeah.
See how much I've learnt from you in the last couple of hours? He'll be happy with that though, won't he?
Oh, he will be.
Right, we're getting anxious down on Lucy's Lake. Number 14 there on the back. It's not Johan Cruyff. It's Nathan, our leader. And he has a catch this time to be weighed.
As I mentioned before the last weigh-in, he had nothing. Then as soon as it was time for this weigh-in, the fish started coming thick and fast. There's one. There's at least another 2 in there, I think. There's 2. And I have to tell you, just before this weigh-in, just before this hooter went, Keith was alluding to the way that different anglers bring the fish in and the speed with which Nathan brings his fish in. Well, it was to his cost. His elastic went. So he could have had 4 in it. Instead, it's just the 3. And let's see what they weigh. Well-behaved fish, these ones.
5 kilos, 550.
5 kilos, 550. And as we mentioned that, he's just got another one in.
Nathan doing exceptionally well then and troubling the score again in a few moments' time when he's unhooked yet another one. I think we're looking at our winner there, and Tommy's got money on him as well.
There's the proof. Roger Marlowe's up to second spot behind Nathan Watson, who's catching enough to maintain that 5 kilo lead. John Howard's lost ghost carp seems to be haunting him, and Lee Addy is forcing his way into contention. The bottom 8 has its own little battles, with Jackson and O'Neill winning comfortably. Ron Mangum hasn't troubled the scorers again, and Mike Withy looks to have dropped anchor.
Well, it's head-to-head. Nathan Watson and Roger Marlowe as we approach the final hour of FishOMania IX here on Adams Lake in Doncaster. Angling's premier event, the major televised event in the world. In the lead at the moment by 5.67 kilos. Now, that 0.67 is very important as well, is Nathan Watson over Roger Marlowe, who's been on a good run and has got a good tan to go with a good afternoon of fishing, but both have been rather prolific during the course of the afternoon. Nathan Watson is on course to win the £25,000. Winner takes all. Well, maybe at this point we can bring in Jeff Ringer, who's just joined us in the studio. And Jeff has been in this position before, 2 years ago, winner of FishOMania. You've been leading us through the tips this afternoon as well. Do you think it's over yet?
No. No, I don't think it's over yet, no. I think... OK, Roger might be, 7 kilo behind after this weigh-in, but that's 3 fish. Could only be 2 fish. I know Roger, but as I speak, Nathan's playing another one. And as I think I heard you say, Tom, he's doing just enough to stay in front all the time.
Appears to be.
And you're quite right, Roger's taking a lot more time than Nathan is. But I mean, I know Roger, and this isn't really his game, is it?
No. We've been talking about that.
Yeah. And he's very careful, and I think the fact that he's lost, well, I've seen him lose 2 or 3 fish is perhaps making him even more careful, because he's thinking every fish could count.
Yeah.
But he's not doing anything to catch up at the moment. No. I just hope this isn't a 3 kilo fish to beat Phil's. I mean, we've accepted Phil can't win the match now from here. Yeah. There just aren't enough fish over that side anyway. But,
I don't know if you saw what I mentioned just there, Rob. If you watch Nathan, look, he's got a fish on, the pole's on his lap, but he's still got the catapult out. He must have heard me say that.
Well, he's within shouting distance. You've always been a rather loud mouth, it has to be said.
Yeah, well, I agree with that.
Oh, cheers.
Thank you, Tommy.
But that's a very important technique to develop.
Yep.
Especially when those fish are up in the water, you've got to keep them there.
Tell me, that fish knows it's on the telly. Like
It'll be interesting to see who gets the fish out first here.
Yeah.
My bet money will be on Nathan.
Yeah, I would.
What has been good is that all of the fish have been on this side, where most of the crowd have been congregated, on the side to the pub as well.
Yeah. And Nathan's fish is in. Now, this fish has got its brown muscle working. It must be 5 or 6 minutes that he's been playing that fish for. That's a long time.
Unless it's a great big fish.
Yeah.
Well, let's hope it is.
How big do they go in here, Tom? There's doubles, isn't there?
Yeah, there's not many in here in this lake. No, I mean, like Jeff said, Phil's got 3 kilo 200. I'll be honest with you, there ain't many fish bigger than that in here.
No.
That could be the moment that the bank manager of Nathan Watson has been looking forward to. The moment that he backed the big one. But I tell you what, the biggest crowd of the day is down there watching. Those two. Meanwhile, on the slightly quieter side, Steve Jackson, Wacko Jacko, has finally caught a fish after a rather quiet spell. He's the reigning champion.
Oh,
it's a good one. That's close for your Phil there.
I don't like the looks of that.
No. No. Just short.
2.8, 2.7, 2.8, you reckon?
3-1, I reckon.
Oh, blimey.
Oh, dear.
Make it a bit close, so Jeff worries a bit.
There's a big one. Roger Marlowe. Remember, we do have a competition for the biggest fish of the day, £2,500, and that was caught
£7
just before the hoot up.
Just be short,
The way it's separate, it might need some very big scales, the kind that Keith normally uses to weigh that one.
3,240 is the biggest fish so far, Phil Ringer.
Not quite.
I don't think that's quite there, Tom.
No, 3-1.
Jeff, who's in the studio, will be hoping that his son isn't beaten.
What do you reckon, Jeff?
I think it's very, very
Oh,
close.
just under 3.
Is it?
Yeah.
Not 2.8, surely, what I say.
Yeah, what you said, yeah. You're good, aren't you? Yeah.
Leaderboard 8 confirms that our leader from the very start, Nathan Watson, has opened up an 8-kilo margin. Can the steady Roger Marlowe make that up? Steve Jackson's back in the top 8. He's not giving up his crown without a battle. Lee Addy's progress has halted and Jez O'Neill's back in 10th. And Ron Mangham needs to look over his shoulder. Mike Withy's off the bottom with 1 kilo 37 and Chris Kitchen is now 16th out of 16.
At the moment, he is the current leader, Nathan Watson, 23 years of age, from Louth in Lincolnshire. The Wonder Kid, who is well ahead, 33.46 kilograms. On lucky peg number 14 in FishOMania IX. He just can't stop catching those fish, and he's got a massive backing here.
Did you see that massive grin as he looked back? His mates are shouting him on, and that grin split his face.
He enjoyed that, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. A fish on as well. Good timing.
Good to see a man who is at peace with his sport.
He started pulling him again, hadn't he? He went through a little spell with that elastic breaking that he didn't give him much stick, and he started giving him a bit of stick again.
You just gave that one a bit too much. It's a little bait, it's a barbel.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Good eyes, Tom.
Yeah.
Might be in an old head, but they're good eyes.
There he is, very, very happy. He's well practiced at putting the fish in the bag now after a fantastic afternoon. Young Nathan Watson.
That's an Ide. They're in the chub family. And they're just as slippery as chub. Phil Ringer demonstrates not only some deft fish juggling, but a bit of a variation on the usual unhooking methods.
Johnny Howard with the fish.
Yeah, just caught 2 or 3, Johnny, actually. I didn't
know it's been like for Johnny, don't you? Rotten.
Yeah. Oh, goodness me.
It's a shame he lost that fish, actually, because he would have put pressure on Nathan at that particular time.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it did unsettle. It didn't appear to unsettle him, but...
Let's find out how Nathan's doing.
1 carp, 1 barbel.
2 carp, 1 barbel. That's your lot. Let's see what it weighs. It's over 4. Let's just see precisely what it weighs.
Four kilos, 200 grams.
4 kilos, 200 grams for Nathan.
Let's find out how Roger in second place has weighed in.
I think I can see a tench. Yep, there's a tench. Nice carp. My favourite fish. I think that's your lot. He's not going to catch up Nathan at all. But every little helps. Just over 2.5. 2.5. It's got to be.
2 kilos, 540.
2 kilos, 540 for Rog.
The gap grows. It's nearly 10 kilos now between peg 14 Nathan Watson and peg 16 Roger Marlowe. John Howard's overcome his nightmare to cement 3rd, and look at Steve Jackson. He surged into 5th place from nowhere. These 8 anglers are now fishing for their pride, and the man with the lowest qualifying weight ever, less than a pound from the River Weaver in March, Chris Kitchen, has the lowest weight today as well.
know him, don't you, from home?
There's Roger Marlowe with the fish. Surely by now he knows that the writing's on the wall for FishOMania 9, and that writing says Nathan Watson. Roger's got no intentions of giving up, and he'll push Nathan all the way. He could do with catching a couple of big fish, and catching them faster would help the cause no end. But that's another 1.5 kilos. He just needs to be that little bit quicker.
Yeah, it's been nice. It's nice to get.
And there's Phil Ringer with a crucian carp. Unfortunately for him, it's not a crucial carp. That one at 3 kilos 340 is going to net him 2.5 grand.
What's it do for the image of the sport when something like this wins it?
This event does everything for the image of the sport. You know, fishing has got a strange reputation amongst some people, but I think this confirms it's genuinely a sport because there's sportsmen doing it. They couldn't run 100 metres in 10 seconds and they wouldn't want to. But the people that can probably can't catch fish like these blokes can.
That's right.
They can handle their equipment perfectly. They're genuine sportsmen. It's a great sporting event, this.
One thing about this, Keith, this event in particular, is the amount of people who normally don't fish, have no clue about fishing, sit at home and watch this and think it's absolutely superb.
Yeah.
He's cracked. He's cracked.
They've finally done him. I bet it's all Grimsby lads behind him. They've finally cracked him.
He's cracked.
He knows now. He's just wanting time to go now. Blow that whistle. He's gone on in there.
He's having a few thoughts about what he does in a couple of seconds' time when he wins FishOMania 9, realising now that he is going to be the champion and £25,000 richer. Not far away now from that final hooter, that final weigh-in. That hooter is going to be music to his ears.
He definitely is.
He's won it, he's realised it now.
Any second now, we're going to hear the final hooter. It's going to be like England 1966. He thinks it's all over. There's nobody in the lake yet. There will be now.
That's it. Well done, mate.
Well done.
And there is the hooter. The champion is confirmed of FishOMania 9, year 2002. The youngest competitor in the tournament in the final, Nathan Watson. Now he turns round. Now he realises what he's achieved. Now he realises how many people are on his side. And probably for the last couple of hours, he's realised that he's got a fairly sizable check winging its way to him in a few minutes' time. Back to the serious business of the weigh-in. This, of course, for Nathan, is going to increase the record in FishOMania. Man who's won it, and he's setting records as well. There he is, a little wetter than he was at the final hooter. But he could walk on water the way he's feeling this afternoon.
1 kilo 940, 39.60. Would that make his weight? Something like 39.600.
You know, I would never argue with you when it comes to
without a doubt.
Mental arithmetic.
£87 in old money.
Excellent.
Which is roughly what he said, wasn't it?
Yeah.
80 to 90 pounds.
And here's the leaderboard that confirms Nathan Watson as FishOMania 9 champion. A superb display of long pole fishing and feeding. Roger Marlowe and John Howard made a match of it, but right from the start it's been Nathan's day. Defending champion Steve Jackson ends in 6th spot. The bottom 8 tried but couldn't come to terms with the conditions or their pegs. But they'll all remember this day, the day that they had their chance to win the greatest prize in match fishing and claim their place in the record books.
The Matchroom Sports catch of the day. The biggest fish, 3 kilos, 340 grams, It's the one and only Phil Ringer.
And this is the mad, manic ghost carp that did it. Weight, 3 kilos 340. Value, £2,500.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, Ken Ball, the president of the NFA, will now present the winner, ladies and gentlemen, to receive his cheque for £25,000, the Magnum of Champagne, the coveted FishOMania trophy, and most important of all, the title of Matchroom Sports FishOMania Champion 2002. It's Nathan Watson!
He came to FishOMania IX as the youngest man in the final. He goes home the richest. A wet but happy Matchroom Sport FishOMania champion, Nathan Watson.